Welcome to the ultimate blueprint for success in 2025. All right, so this is going to go to anyone that is looking to start a business, anyone that's looking to scale their business, or anyone that's simply looking for a roadmap or a blueprint to get started. The important thing is here to remember that there's 10 keys, 10 keys that are going to be crucial, right? And I'm going to go through them right now. All right, so the first one is going to be who you are as an individual. You have to identify who it is that you are as an individual if you want to be able to sell yourself to someone else, right? Sell your idea to someone else. If people can interpret the person that they're dealing with, the person that they're talking to, then ultimately speaking, they're not going to be as weary when it comes down to whatever it is that you're going to sell them. So, number two is who you sell to, right? Who is your audience? Ultimately, who is your audience? Who is it that you are breaking down your idea to? Who is it that you are selling your product to? So for example, Luis, when you started your clothing brand, and who was your audience as far as your apparel? Like, who were you marketing to? Were you marketing to older people, younger people, business people, or just like, hey, streetwear people?
When I first started, I basically, this is one thing about me. I didn't really think about the audience. I kind of just thought about just the visionary process. So now that I'm shifting, trying to process, level up the brand, I'm shifting more into what kind of audience, what kind of people are really buying my clothes. So instead of just focusing on just streetwear in general, I want to focus on like the people that would style my clothes. So it's just identifying like the type of people that would like wear your clothes, just seeing what kind of brand you really are. Because when I first started the brand and now what I'm teaching people is the important thing is identifying the audience and seeing what kind of brand you want to be. If you want to be in the gym space, if you want to be streetwear space, designer space, and just really engage from there.
And I'm glad you touched on that, because the first part, again, guys, he didn't figure out his audience first. What he figured out first was his idea, pen to paper. He came up with the product, right? That is who he is. And then afterwards, he had to identify, okay, now who am I selling to, right? So who are you and who do you sell to? Okay, the next one is get them to buy. How do you get them to buy? Okay, how do you get those clients? Now that we've identified that, you know, in this case, Rebirth, and I'll use Rebirth as the example, is a streetwear product, right? Streetwear brand, right? They focus a lot on like styles and just different, designs, graphics, things of that nature. So, for example, Luis, in your case, how do you market your product? Like, how do you get them to buy?
Just marketing, really just in general, like on Instagram. But one thing that has really helped me is just local. A lot of people just tend to just really just post and focus on posting when really they have their audience everywhere. Just anywhere you go, rep your stuff, because how is someone gonna recognize you if you don't rep your own self? So go out to the mall, show off the clothes. In school, if you have siblings, cousins, even just family in general, send them out. School, people are gonna ask about it. If you're at work, people are gonna ask about, oh, where'd you get that? Oh, this is actually my brand. So it's just word of mouth. Word of mouth is very good for not just streetwear business or a clothing brand. Word to mouth is basically the main way to attract your customers when you're first starting out. Because how is someone gonna know that you have something to sell if you don't really pitch in like idea?
Yeah, so exactly. So how you get them to buy, guys, is very, very simple. I know, at least for me, when I first started out, in my case, I was selling an experience, right? And because I didn't have a sample to show the experience side of things, like meaning like I had never done it before, nobody knew what that experience was going to be like. So the first event that I ever launched, I had to do it free. I had to pay $4,000 out of pocket, right, just to show them an experience. Because had I not done that, right, then nobody would know what my product is like. Yeah. So nobody would go and be like, oh, I'm not going to go pay for that event because I don't even know what kind of event that is. What did I do? I paid for production. right? And I paid, and I paid in a sense, I paid for the entry of my clients, right? Like I let them come in for free.
Yeah.
Why? Because now I can show the production, right? And I can give the customer the experience. So now, like you said, now when they leave that event, they're gonna go tell their friends on how awesome of an event it was. In this case, if you sent me your hoodie, I wear your hoodie, I post a picture with your hoodie, now I'm marketing for you. I'm now an affiliate for you. Or now I can tell somebody like, nah, bro, Rebirth, they got the right gear. Okay.
And then the same for you. Like I go to your events, and they're like, "Oh, how was this event?" Again, like I just say like from my experience and from like where we're working at, and like now it's just leveling up and just getting to know like everyone.
Yeah. And now the next thing is how many times, okay? So how many times are people seeing your product? Okay. How many times are people seeing your product? So this is something that I talked about in the school community. By the way, guys, if you're looking to launch your brand, you need to tap into the school community, Megamind Connect school community. And Luis is a part of that, but I give a lot of this game on there. You'll probably see some clips on there. If you're in the school community, make sure that you're getting active and you're tapping, on people's stuff, reading people's stuff, and getting involved. And if you're on YouTube, tap the subscribe button. Make sure that you follow us on Instagram at Megamind Connect, at Rebirth, etc. So let me get back to it. So how many times people see your product is going to be extremely important. And sometimes we think, okay, that we are so important that we don't want to bombard the algorithm. We don't want to bombard the YouTube. We don't want to bombard the Instagram. We don't want to bombard the TikTok. Oh, we're posting too much. People are going to get annoyed. People don't care, okay? Their attention span is very, very small, especially now. You guys know this in our generation that we don't actually ever watch a whole video. Some of you guys may be skipping over this part and not even been watching it. Some of the ones that are watching it, thanks for watching, because you're part of the people that are actually taking the time. But how many times people see your stuff is going to be extremely important. The ROI, like, let me ask you a question. What is the ROI on a billboard, right? Why would a company spend hundreds and thousands of dollars, sometimes even millions if it's a nice digital billboard? If you're in Times Square, I promise you that billboard is $1 million, at least. So why would a commercial in the Super Bowl is $8 million for 30 seconds? Why? What's the ROI? You're telling me off of those 30 seconds that company's going to make that return? Let me tell you why they do this. For brand awareness, brand recognition. They do not do it for conversion. They don't do it for conversion. So they're not converting. Like, for example, you watching the Super Bowl, you see a Doritos commercial, people are not going to convert instantly, right? They might, but the likelihood, right, is that they're not necessarily converting instantly. Booking.com, right? They have a commercial on the Super Bowl, right? That doesn't necessarily mean that somebody's going to go on Booking.com and book their trip right then and there. But when they're ready to book their trip, they're gonna remember Booking.com. They're gonna remember when they go to the store and buy their groceries. They're gonna remember that Doritos commercial. Like, oh shit, like let me get a bag of Doritos. And so a lot of times we confuse the amount of times that people see our stuff as a conversion. And people have to see your brand 21 times before they ever make a purchase. And so the more times that people see your stuff, even if they're not converting in that moment, it's going to be extremely crucial for when they do convert, because they will remember you before they remember the competitor. Every platform, every channel, do not be scared that you are like oversaturating. You can repurpose a video and people don't even know it's the same video. And it's simply because their attention span is like the only person that really knows it's the same video is you, because you're the one that did it. Everybody else, they're not really paying attention that much to your life to say like, now your mega fans, they may notice it, but guess what? They're still getting reminded of who you are every time. Who is it that you're helping? What pain point are you solving? So who are you helping? So in your case, Luis, obviously, it's going to be a little bit different, but at the same time, it's not, because you still have a market, right? And in my case with Megamind Connect, all right, who am I helping? It's very easy to identify. I'm helping anyone that is looking to level up their life. I'm helping anyone that is looking to launch a business. I'm helping anyone that needs consulting on a business. I'm helping anyone that wants to scale their business. I'm helping anyone that wants to learn how to fish for themselves, right? You can give a man a fish and you feed him for a day, but if you teach a man to fish, right? If you teach him to fish, then guess what? You feed him for a lifetime, right? He knows how to do this. So identifying the pain point of your client. What is the pain point of your client? And it's going to vary on every single industry. The pain point for a doctor, okay, is going to be the medicine, right? Like he is using the medicine to identify the pain point that you're having, that his client is having. But it's the knowledge, right, that he's developed to be able to identify the pain point so he can give you the cure.
Yeah.
The next one is keeping your advantage, okay? So how do you keep your advantage? Let's talk about that. So keeping your advantage. How do you keep your advantage over the competitor? I'll ask Luis. I kind of put him on the spot, but how would you keep your advantage over the competitor?
Over my competitors, for me, it's kind of a little bit more hard in a way, just because I have different like aspects in my life. I'm currently just working a full-time job and going to college and taking care of just different businesses. But the thing with me is I'm building, even though I'm not really like as competitive as just someone just doing strictly clothing, but with me is I'm tapping into these different aspects of businesses which I'm building the skill of. So I'm just kind of learning a little bit of this, a little bit of this, and a little bit of this. So whenever I make my videos, I kind of just show off like behind the scenes of this. So people, instead of just looking at this brand and this guy just having his own like thing, they're going to look at me and saying, oh, look, he could basically have the same thing, but he's also doing multiple things. So that's kind of what separates me from like the competitors.
In a clothing brand, when I'm launching a clothing brand, the way that I'll keep an advantage is by distributing my product to those that have a bigger audience than I do. Meaning, if I give out influencers my product, I'm at an advantage of my competitor. Why? Because my competitor is charging for that while I'm giving my gear out to these high level people, right? I'm giving my gear to the people that are going to be promoting my stuff without even actually promoting my stuff.
Yeah.
Right? If I give LeBron James a Rebirth hoodie and he pulls up before the game and he's walking and he's rocking the Rebirth, guess what everybody's going to do? I need that hoodie. And so this is how certain brands blow up so quickly, is because they learn how to keep their advantage over their competition. Why? They distribute their product to the people that have the most eyes, that have the most eyeballs, right? For Megamind Connect, how do I keep my advantage? Well, I leverage other companies, other businesses that are also killing it to be a part of what I have going on. How? Sponsorship deals. How do I do that? By giving them a platform to speak, by giving them an opportunity to share their story. That's how I'm keeping the advantage over the competitor. Why? Because it's not about me. It's about platforming these other brands so it gets my own name out there. That is how you keep the advantage. Now, stick with it. That is number 7 here, okay? Stick with it, all right? This is extremely important because most of you, the reason that this one is probably the most important in my opinion, okay, is because most people have already quit. Most of you aren't even watching the video anymore. The ones that are still watching, you stuck with it. So you are part of that 1% that is wanting to learn, and you are going to be the one that's going to be successful. Why? Because you're willing to stick with it. You're willing to watch the whole damn video, okay? You're willing to go through the whole process. And at the beginning, right, how long have you been doing clothes?
2 years.
Okay. And at the beginning, I'm sure it was pretty difficult. And even now, you get discouraged maybe, where you're like, oh shit, I don't know if this is the right move, or like, do I even need to take the clothing brand that serious?
It's like playing chess. You really got to think about it before you make the right move. And I honestly, when I first started, I was like, okay, I'm going to just make like 40 t-shirts and see where that goes. I never expected it to go the way it's going, and I'm glad it's going the way it's going right now. But even then, there's came to a point where I had to invest at least 4,000 into my own personal brand, and that's where I got skeptical. I was like, dang, like that's 4K out of my pocket,
Yeah.
and it was like my first time making a big purchase. At the time, I didn't see it as an investment, but over time, you see different aspects as an investment. So I was like, you know what? Let me take that risk. Let me get that. Let me just pay $4,000 and see where it goes. And after that, it's just like now it's just leveling up each time. So like I'm not like hesitate to invest into my own brand because I believe in myself and I believe in my grind, and that's where you get that vision.
If you do not stick with it, right, then you're not going to benefit the outcome. You're not going to reap the outcome. I see so many people, and I always like to give the example of like, okay, you're chiseling away. You're almost gonna hit the gold. You're almost gonna hit the jackpot. This close, like, see, I can't even. You see a laptop? I'm almost touching the laptop. I'm almost touching it, but I can't see if the laptop is that close, right? I'm not seeing that. Well, I have two options. I can stick with it and keep pushing, but this is where most people quit. Most people quit right here, right before they get their blessing. So sticking with it despite not seeing the result, right? There's a statistic. Most businesses don't start becoming really profitable. They don't really make it until at least year 7, okay? Like any of the big publicly traded stocks out in the market, and just a fun fact here. The majority of the publicly traded stocks in the market, it takes them 7 years to be able to go public. 7 years to be able to get somebody, to get somebody to be able to invest in your company. You can't do it sooner than that. But what happens if I quit at year 5? You know what I mean? Bro, this point right here is where you will pass 99% of people in business, because most people won't get here. It goes hand in hand with every single one of the things that we talked about. But just like the same way that you would take advantage or keep your advantage over the competition, right? If you continue to train and get better, then you're constantly going to be more diverse than everyone else. You're constantly going to be more aware than everyone else. You're constantly going to be more interesting than everyone else. Why? Because you know more shit, and guess what? You're constantly training, you're constantly getting better, you're constantly getting sharp. Preparation, okay, getting better and just preparing and training is such a crucial aspect to any business owner. Why? Abraham Lincoln, okay, and there's an analogy, and I don't know if this was actually true, but there was an analogy of Abraham Lincoln chopping down a tree, okay, and it says that he was in a competition, you know, chopping down a tree with somebody else, and the other guy took 5 hours just hammering, and they only had 6 hours to chop down the tree. The first 5 hours, Abraham Lincoln was sharpening his axe. Okay, he did not even chop not one time. Okay, this other guy has been chopping for hours, and he's almost about to break the tree down. He's about to win the competition, and everybody's looking at Abraham Lincoln like, "What the fuck are you doing, bro? Like, why are you not swinging?" But he is sitting there chiseling his axe. So the last hour, while this guy is hammering, and he now has a dull axe, like meaning that the axe is not doing any damage anymore, Abraham Lincoln comes in there and fucking boom, 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 with 3 to 4 chops, tears down the tree, and the guy that was exhausted, okay, ends up losing the competition. And I say this example, why? Because Abraham Lincoln, in this case, in this example, he prioritized himself getting his axe better. He prioritized sharpening his axe rather than hammering away. And sometimes we feel, especially in Hispanic culture, right? Us as Mexican people or Hispanic people, whatever, right? We love to break our fucking back, bro. We love to fucking grind and fucking do the hardest fucking shit, right? And we don't take the time to use our brain. We don't take the time to get better mentally. To work smarter instead of harder. But I want to take it over to you. Like, what's an example of getting better that you're currently doing?
An example for me, instead of just being so rushed and so worried on just being successful, you really gotta take the time to invest in yourself and really learn. I implement this to my younger brother because, first starting out at his age, I'm like, okay, I want to do this, I want to do this. Even like with the brand, I kind of just want to like just start and just go. And sometimes people get lucky. I'm not saying it's not possible, but the smartest way to do it is just really, I try to implement to really plan it out and invest in yourself and really just learn. Because if you take the time to really just educate yourself, you're gonna be ahead of like many other people.
And getting better is like your body, guys. Like when you eat something, right, and you're eating healthy and you're putting good into your body, you're going to produce good. A lot of times people don't want to read because, again, they're the skepticism of like, there's no way that I'm going to read something that's going to really change my life, okay? But let me give you this example, okay? When we write something, right, when the writer is writing something, he is going directly from his brain to paper. So he is going from a thought directly to a reality without the influence of someone criticizing, without the influence of somebody distorting his idea, because he's literally mind control he's controlling his hand on what it is that he's trying to portray. The reader, okay, and this is why I'm not against audiobooks. I think if you're not a reader, then go audiobook route and then open up the book. But there's nothing like opening up the book. Why? Because when you read, okay, most of us don't read out loud. Okay, we read in silent. Okay, and we're reading and we're analyzing the pages, but those words are also they're penetrating they're penetrating our brain. They're coming in through our brain and through our eyes, directly from the writer's mind. Does that make sense? Like, we are basically reading his mind, because keep in mind, when he wrote, he went directly from mind to reality. And then when we read, we're going from reality to mind. Yeah. We're interpreting his own thoughts through the book. And like you said, right? Why would he take the time to write it if it wasn't valuable? Yeah. Right? He wouldn't. And same thing, even like I don't want to get like spiritual, but like even in scripture, right? If you think about like biblical terms, or like the Bible, they took scrolls. And back then, it wasn't like pen and paper where you just pop out a pen and paper, or like, a whiteboard. Yeah. It was like, bro, it took them time to chisel in.
Yeah. You can't erase what you're writing. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's like, why would they take the time? Like, I don't imagine that they just had nothing better to do back then than to fucking chisel in stone. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like a commandment or whatever. Like, it's like they took the time to do that because it was important at that period of time, right? The hieroglyphics from the Egyptians, they took the time to sit there and draw in the caves. I promise you, it wasn't because they didn't have anything better to do. They could have been out hunting. They could have been out gathering. They could have been out building. Yeah. But no, they had designated people that were literally writing, carving in stone to make sure that we, generations later, would get an interpretation of what they were seeing. Yeah. Okay. Same thing with an author on a book. If I'm a successful business owner and I'm taking the time to write a book, it's simply because I want people to know what it is that it takes to get to the next level. And so we'll finish off with this, guys.